Hello, everybody. What is up? My name is Leroy Mann. Welcome to the channel. Today, we have a very special guest, AnimePlz123. How are you doing
What's up,
today?
guys? I'm good. I'm good. How are you doing, Leroy?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
I want to thank you for taking the time to be here on the channel. It really means a
Yeah,
lot to me.
I'm honored, Leroy. You're one of the OGs for my channel, so I'm happy to help you out any way I can.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into the questions, if that's all right with you.
Yep, works for me.
So the first question would be, this is one you've probably answered a few times, but when you were first getting into anime, did you have any preconceived notions about what anime was like, or did you really not know a lot about it until you were into it?
Yeah, I didn't really know anything about it growing up. I lived in a very kind of reserved, conservative household, so to even see something like that on TV was pretty rare. I mean, it wasn't until I got older until I kind of discovered something like Toonami or other streaming services, even Netflix. I mean, I that was crazy when I first discovered anime on Netflix. That blew my mind that they even had that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely growing up. I mean, I would catch a rare episode of Dragon Ball Z on Saturday morning, cartoons but it really wasn't until middle school, early high school that that's when I started watching Toonami, started seeing One Piece and Kill la Kill. I remember seeing Gurren Lagann for the first time, and that just absolutely blowing my mind, and just
Mm-hmm.
the style and the comedy and just it was so different than what I was used to. I grew up on Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob, Scooby Doo, um, my life as a teenage girl, and those are all great shows, but it's just so different when you go to something like anime. It really just kind of blew my mind. So yeah, I went into it like such cold feet. I didn't know anything, and I still struggle with stuff. I still struggle with names
Yeah.
and connotations, and that's something I'm probably going to struggle with forever because I'm just not. I wasn't raised that way. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't. I don't know how to pronounce certain things. I'm no expert. I don't want anyone to look at me like I'm an expert because I'm really not. There's a lot of stuff I'm still learning every day.
Mm-hmm. I think names are really hard. I usually just refer to
Oh my god.
characters as uh, hair color here.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. I mean, yeah, that's one of the things that I still get pretty embarrassed about. Like I'll show, borderline figures, I'll talk about embarrassing stories, but that's the one thing that I still wish I was better at was just pronunciation because I don't want to offend anyone, even though I'm not trying to, but it's hard when you're when you're
Yeah.
an American and English is tough already, and now you try to add something you've never learned
Mm-hmm.
before. It's tough for somebody like me.
Well, it's two completely different cultures. And
Yeah, yeah. You have a name with 5 vowels in it all of a sudden. I mean,
yeah.
that's tough for somebody like me. But I hope I'm getting better every day. But it's a struggle. But we'll get there someday. Maybe someday I'll actually be able to speak a little Japanese. But I wouldn't hold your breath. That'd probably be a while.
I've dabbled in some Japanese before too, and I never say committed long enough to actually learn anything because
Yeah.
it gets so overwhelming.
Yeah, like I would if I ever go to Japan, which I would love to go to Japan someday,
Me
I would
too.
love to at least know a few things. So if there was an emergency or if I needed help or something, that's one of my biggest other than flying. I hate flying, but that's one of my other biggest fears is just being in a situation when I need help and not being able to, to actually like convey it to somebody.
Hmm. So, would you say you prefer watching anime or reading manga, or is it about equal?
Probably now it's more watching. When I started, it was all reading manga for the most part, just because this is back when I was watching Toonami. Toonami didn't start until I think like 11 at night, 10:30 maybe or something like that, at least in my area.
Hmm.
And my parents were pretty strict. We got away with some stuff, but they weren't going to let me stay up until midnight on a school night, middle of the week, to watch anime. That wasn't going to work. So I kind of had to work around that a little bit. Reading manga. I mean, some of the first manga I ever bought was actually the first first manga I ever bought was see, it still slips through every once in a while,
Hmm.
so I have to catch myself. um, oh, it was a cross-dressing maid one, which I totally forgot the name of right now. Oh gosh, I forgot the name, but
Maid Sama. Is that it?
It's something like that. It's where they all think he's a guy made, but he's actually a girl, and he has to keep the secret. And he's terrible with women, so I kind of connected with that because
Mhm.
I definitely was no ladies' man back then. So, but then I got Monster Musume and Kill la Kill and started
Mhm.
getting into these other series, and by then I had my first iPad and my first smartphone, so I could watch Netflix and start watching more anime. But manga is expensive, and I'm a fast reader, so it's tough for me to really value wise. It's a lot easier for me to watch, especially through a streaming app,
Mhm.
because I can just blaze through manga. I'm such a fast reader, so it's like, oh, there goes $11. I just read. So
So
I'll probably watch more now.
I'm kind of the opposite with manga. I'm slow, so slow.
Okay.
I've got so much. I mean, I only have about like 10 different series,
Yeah.
but I mean, I still haven't read all the manga I have, and they're probably like going on like 2 years old.
I
So
try to
slow.
slow down. It's just I have to catch myself. I think I get so like into the story, especially with more serious. I mean, with Monster Musume, it's pretty straightforward what you're going to get. But if I'm into like Kill a Kill or something, and I'm actually invested in the story, it's like I want to speed up and see what happens. And it's
Hmm.
like, okay, well that issue's done. And I think that's one of the reasons. This is kind of getting off topic, but this is probably one of the reasons I never got into like Dragon Ball or something like that, especially when I was younger. Is I was always going into it in the middle of on episode 200 or whatever, and I have no idea what's going on, and I didn't want to invest the time and
Hmm.
learning the whole lore. Watching 200 episodes of One Piece or whatever, it was good for just an episode at a time, just for entertainment, really.
Hmm. Have you ever read the manga before a show, and then get to the show, and you're like, wow, this is bad, because that's kind of the
Um,
notion, is the anime's never as good as the manga. Has that ever happened to you?
yeah. I'm trying to think at some of the series. I mean, I've been pretty spoiled or pretty lucky on most of the manga that I've read. Even before I watched the series, was still pretty damn good,
Hmm.
or anti-series, yeah, anime series. So I mean, if we look at Haganai, some of the originals I ever watched, Haganai or Monster. I keep saying Monster Musume, but that was one of the first mangas I ever read. Um, Watamote. I guess if I had to pick one, Watamote would probably be it. I absolutely loved that manga. It's one of my favorite of all time. But the anime is just enough over the top for me that I don't quite enjoy it. Definitely not as much as the manga. I feel like it kind of can take that cringe in
Hmm.
little, you know, spoonfuls instead of just being forced to watch it straight 20-minute episodes. But that's
Yeah.
going back. That's going back a while. But that's really the main one. Even like Agame got Kill, that just got to the point where, and both the manga and the anime, where it was just too much for me. It was just too much
Hmm.
death and getting attached to characters who were just gone next episode. And you know me, I'm not huge into
Right.
anime like that.
So, at what point would you say that you came to the realization of, yeah, maybe I am, a weeb now?
It probably wasn't. I really haven't talked about this much, but it probably wasn't until I got my first retail job working at Best Buy, and that's when I started meeting people that were right around my age who were comfortable with anime. Was even Leroy. I don't know how old you are, but you're probably close to my age. Anime was not cool when I was a kid. I hate to sound like a boomer, but anime was not the cool kid thing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So and I, even me, I definitely kind of repressed it. We had anime clubs in high school and stuff, and I should have been all over stuff like that. But you have this image that you're trying to keep, which is so stupid thinking back. But it really wasn't until I got that first retail job, and I met some friends I'm still friends with now who were huge into anime, and that's when I could start having conversations with people.
Hmm.
We could start going to conventions together, and getting gifts for each other, and started actually feeling comfortable that I like Miku. That's not a weird thing. I want figures. That's not a weird thing, because it really isn't. I mean, we're all. I don't care what kind of human you are. There's something like that in your life, whether it's cars or shoes or hats. Everyone is into something like that, and that's just what we are into. It's
Hmm.
just human nature.
That's one of my, I don't know if I'd call it a regret or not, but I wish I would have gotten into anime earlier in
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
Because I only got into it when I was in like my junior year of high school,
Okay. Yeah.
and I just wish that I could have been more
Yeah, no,
involved earlier on.
yeah, I'm the same way. I even had friends in high school that were or even going back to middle school that were into it, that were in these clubs, and it was just like I always kind of separated myself from that, like, that idea, and I don't even know if it was something I meant to do or it's just looking back, that's just how it was,
Hmm.
um, because that really was as time went on, that was being that was such a bigger part of my life, part of my character, so, yeah, no, I agree with you there, I could definitely say the same.
One of my friends, he's actually the one that like got me into anime.
Mhm.
And he would always be watching Bleach. Like I'd go over to his
Yeah.
house, he'd be watching Bleach. I'd get
Yeah.
so annoyed at him because he would just ignore me and watch Bleach.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I used to make fun of him all the time for watching anime. And finally, this was a weird like first anime, but he wanted me to watch Black Butler because he thought
Okay,
he thought I would
okay.
like the main character, Sebastian.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, nah, nah, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching it. So then, like, but 3 months later, probably, I was bored. And at the time, Black Butler was on Netflix.
Yep, I remember
So I
that.
just put it on. And then here we are now. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm a bigger weeb or whatever than he is now.
yeah. No,
So,
I did the exact same thing with Gurren Lagann. I was like, I'll give this a couple minutes, and I think I watched 8 episodes in an afternoon, which I have to this day, I've never done. My attention span for anime, I can do 2 or 3 episodes at a time, and then that's it, but I was just so blown away with just how
hmm,
cool how cool it was. It was so different.
yeah.
It was just almost refreshing in a way. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it.
So this is a slightly changing gears and topic,
Okay.
but some people may not know it that are fans of you, but you recently have, or over the past year since you've been
Mm.
moving, you've kind
Yeah.
of established a fishing community on Twitch, sort of. So,
Yeah,
could you
yeah, I
tell us
guess.
a little bit about like how you got into fishing and what you like
Oh
about it
gosh.
and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, ever since I was a kid, my dad has always been huge into the outdoors, specifically fishing and hunting, and
Mm-hmm.
that's always been even his brothers, his immediate family, a little bit on my mom's side, but mostly my dad's side, were all huge into that. And and some of my earliest memories were playing with fishing rods, sitting in the boat in the driveway because we couldn't go, because it was I had school and there was just not enough time to go out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I one of my and I don't think I've ever told this story is one of my favorite things to do when I was a kid is to take a cardboard box that was just big enough for me to sit in, and I would sit on my grass with a fishing rod for hours, just pretending I was fishing. I
Uh-huh.
don't think I've ever told that story, but it was just um yeah. And then as I got older, I got more and more. It's almost the same thing as anime. In high school, I start meeting kids who are into fishing and hunting
Mm-hmm.
and then once I get to once I got to my YouTube channel, I got comfortable enough to where I can start kind of showing other sides of me because not only do I want to show people that you just give them something more entertaining to watch, just something that I normally do, but I want to show people that it's okay to like fishing and to be a
Mm-hmm.
weeb and to like cars and to do what who cares? I mean, that's always been one of my main things is just try it if you don't like it, but at least try it if you have
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity. And I don't know what it is, but fishing in particular is such a relaxing, relatable thing for like 90% of people in this world. I've met more, diverse people fishing than any other hobby I've ever been into. It's
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter your age, your race, if you can even speak English or where you come from, it doesn't matter. That's just one of the things that people do, and I think that's awesome, and I think that's why people kind of enjoy it. Not only because I enjoy it, because they can. It's just relaxing and something they can find some enjoyment in
Yeah.
as well. And I'm not real great at it, as you can tell. I mean, my track record's definitely not great, but I am definitely limited a little bit streaming wise
Yeah.
on where I can go. But it's still. entertaining to me because people find it entertaining,
Mhm.
and that makes me want to stream it.
It makes me paranoid to even take a phone on a boat at all. I
Yeah.
think it's just automatically going to go into the water if it's on there.
Yeah, no, it definitely took me a while to figure out how I was gonna do the setup, and it's still pretty ghetto, just using some kind of those big industrial zip ties, the reusable ones. It's
Mhm,
definitely not the most professional setup, but it works, and, if people find it entertaining, I'm gonna keep doing it, so that's
mhm.
it still blows my mind, but if people like it, then why not? I'll do it.
But there's a community out there for everybody, for every hobby. It's just a matter
Yeah,
of
yeah,
finding it.
exactly. I mean, fishing is something that will never die out, in my opinion. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of channels dedicated to that on YouTube. So it's uh it's as big of a community, if not bigger than anime or cars or whatever. It's in the same ballpark for sure.
All right, so let's move on to figures. That's the bread and butter here.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, I
you
would
do
say so.
figures, and I do figures
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so the first question I have is, what figure manufacturer do you think is the most underrated, and what manufacturer do you think is the most overrated?
Oh, that is a tough one. Underrated. You know, I find myself bringing up, I always call them orchid seed. I don't know if that's
Mm-hmm.
orchid seed, however you want to pronounce it. I see myself bringing them up a lot. Not so much because they're the absolute best on the market, but you can find really nice figures of theirs for a really decent price in the aftermarket.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some amazing Sonicos and other figures that are just very reasonably priced, and just amazing, absolutely amazing quality. So I definitely mentioned them a lot. Alter is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Rocket Boy. I mean, Rocket Boy doesn't make a ton of figures, and most of the ones they do are extremely NSFW. But
Right.
I have never seen a Rocket Boy figure with any defects, with any I mean, they are some of the most top quality before you would get into the private market with garage kits and resin figures, and I
Mm-hmm.
would say at least kind of for more mainstream, they are absolutely amazing with quality, at least in my experience. But for overrated, oh man, that's kind of a tough one. You know, I don't want to throw Good Smile under the bus. I don't want to say Good Smile's overrated, but you know, they're not always perfect. I'll say that. You know, they definitely have their times where a figure is just has a weird design or it doesn't translate well from the art to the figure and just design wise. Um, you know, I love Good Smile, but they do sometimes have times where it just doesn't quite work out 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, maybe that's because they make who knows how many thousands of figures a year. You know, you're bound to
Yeah.
get a few that aren't quite perfect.
Sometimes their reputation bites them in the butt. When they
Yeah,
release a
yeah,
not so good figure. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. You know, the Sonico Libra figure right now is getting kind of worked over from the Sonico people because that was, you know, that's a good Smile figure, and it's got some really just bad designs, a lot of issues with it. You know, that's just one off the top of my head I can think of, but not always perfect. And I've struggled with if you, I mean, some of my videos with good Smile figures.
Mm-hmm.
I've struggled with putting things together, and I'm definitely not the best with putting figures together. I've broken my fair share over the years, but yeah, good Smile is that's really the only one I could think of that I guess I would kind of say overrated. Yeah.
I kind of thought you would say I can't even remember the name now. The one with all the Kobayashi figures that's awful and they're always broken.
Oh yeah, like a FOTS or a
Yeah,
B
FOTS.
full
Yeah.
or one of those. Yeah. No, I mean, it's
That,
frustrating because,
mm,
and I've said this many times, but that is my favorite anime for sure of all time, and it's
mm-hmm.
frustrating to have. Well, at least now we have one Kana figure. That's not them, but it's frustrating to see the rest of the cast not only with these kind of weird designs. I'm a huge school swimsuit guy. Like that is a okay in my book, but
Yeah.
you know, to go with the whole cast and that, and it's just odd. It was just an odd choice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's definitely one that struggles a lot. And, you know, a lot of people are going to want me to say the freeing bunnies, but because oh, the freaking bunnies are all the same, but that's what they're known. That's always been my thing. That's
Yeah.
that's what they're known for, and they make an absolutely amazing product. 99% of the time. So you get
Yeah.
what you pay for there. I'm not mad at that at all.
I
But
don't have any bunnies, but they're not like I wouldn't say they're overrated because
no,
they found their market, the
yeah,
bunnies, and they
yeah,
are on it. But
yeah.
about
I just find it ironic when people are like, "Oh man, another bunny." It's like, yeah, that's what they do.
yeah,
That's
I
that's
would
just their
like to
thing.
see some more regular or like normal outfit 1/4s
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they
That's
pretty
the one
much
thing.
dominate the 1/4 market.
Yep,
Period.
yep.
So
Even
I
for some characters who are kind of off the like Yuna. Yuna was I cannot imagine Yuna made millions of dollars as an anime, even though I absolutely loved it. But yeah, she
mhm,
got a bunny. So yeah, it's kind of weird with them, but they're amazing quality. I've never had any complaints with them.
mhm. So a follow up to that question is well, you kind of mentioned it, but what is your favorite manufacturer?
Um, I'm really, and a lot of people have bugged me about doing some sort of video kind of along that idea.
Hmm.
I've never been really, uh, or have any sort of favoritism with certain companies. Excuse me. I I don't buy from a certain company. I don't look for a certain scale. My thing has always been: is it a character I like? Does it look good? And I'm probably going to buy it or at least consider it. I don't
Hmm.
really care about manufacturing or anything like that. Most of the time, it's going to be fine. So yeah, Fring. That's if you want a bunny, there's your bunnies. Rocket Boy, if you want your lewd figures, there's your lewd figures. Native, same thing.
Right.
If you want your Mikus, Good Smile.
Hmm.
It just depends, I guess, on who I'm buying. I'm definitely I don't have any favoritism when it comes to most brands.
Well, for me, it's probably Good Smile, but I
Mm.
collect Nendroids,
Yep.
so
Yep.
automatically I'm leaning towards Good Smile,
Yeah, yeah, which
and
they do great. At least, I'm not a huge Android collector, but
hmm
yeah, the few I've had are very nice, especially for the price point. All the
hmm
accessories and the poses. I mean, that's
that's what
definitely
got me into them
yeah,
to start
yep,
with because they were most of them at the time they were like 45, $50. Some of them are a
hmm
little more expensive now, but
yeah,
um, and they came with all these poses. So in my mind, if I ever got tired of it, I could change it at least
exactly,
like 3 times. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Which I mean, you don't find that with scale figures, other than, with cast off
Hmm.
options or maybe a different faceplate, but normally you got to pay extra for that. So
Hmm.
value wise, they're for sure. And people ask me why don't I get more Figmas or more Neandroids? It's because I'm terrible at putting them together. I
Hmm.
don't have that mind with good poses. That's why I get scales because I need that to be kind of pre-made for me.
Hmm.
I just cannot do that. I'm not one of those people.
Figmas don't really work for me because they're in between.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're
they
not the
are.
chibi cute Nendroid, and they're not
Mhm.
the high detailed scale figure
Yeah, they
because
kind of sit right in
they have
that
all the
awkward.
joints and
Yeah,
I just don't like them personally.
yeah. No, I think I've broken more trying to put them together than actually succeeded in displaying them. So.
Hmm. So, if you had creative license to create one anime figure, what character would you choose? I would say what manufacturer would you choose, but
Yeah.
you've proven no loyalty to any manufacturer. What pose or other features would you want to make sure was included on that figure?
Um, yeah, I probably would have to go with Centauria. I mean, just because she's my OG, she's my waifu.
Mm-hmm.
So and yeah, really have it has no figure options other than one garage kit. So to get some sort of scale of her would be amazing. That's such a niche market, so it's never gonna that's never gonna happen. But
Mm-hmm.
it'd be awesome if it did. And then if I had to go with some sort of manufacturer, gosh, that would be a tough one because I would kind of want to borrow things from
Yeah.
each manufacturer who they're good at. going with an orchid seed who has like that good face detail, or
Mm-hmm.
Skytube has a couple different accessories. Um, it's like my Zeton, that centaur figure, having that base is the coolest thing about that
Mm-hmm.
figure. I mean, it's so intricate and just well designed. It almost looks realistic, and how they did the rocks and everything. So having something like that, and then having such a cool figure on top of it is
Mm-hmm.
that would be amazing. But yeah, I guess I would have to pick her, and having different faces, even clothes, having different clothes options. That'd be cool. Different uniforms. I mean, Monster Missouri definitely kind of sticks to their OG designs, but having one in her night outfit, or just different options. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's always nice having with any scale figure. So that's probably what I would have to go with. I've been complaining lately. I want a Crim scale from Interspecies Reviewer.
Uh-huh.
I would love. I wanted to say Aloe. Aloe is my favorite character, but at least they got a little figure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Crim. That'd be really cool to see. Um, Not sure if that's at least a little bit more realistic, but still, I don't know if that's gonna happen. We'll see.
For me, if I had to pick a character to get a figure, it'd be Violet Evergarden. Because
Okay,
she has
okay, yeah,
nothing. There's hardly
yeah.
anything about that show. It's just
That probably would be a more popular
so
option than what I chose, because they definitely have more of a
yeah.
following there.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is funny how some of those series just have nothing, and it's so frustrating when people come to me asking for a body pillow or a poster or a figure of someone, and I'm just like, there is
There's
none.
not yeah.
There's nothing I can tell you.
And just it's just weird because Violet Evergarden is like really popular
Huge,
and
absolutely huge. Yeah.
like a Kame got killed. There's hardly any figures of that.
Yep, another huge series that.
It just
Yeah.
I don't know who approves, who gets figures and
Yeah,
who
yeah, I
doesn't,
have no idea either. Yuna's getting one with an anime that I doubt made any money, and Akame got killed with all these different characters and
Mhm.
designs and personalities. They don't get anything. It's interesting to see.
Well, it could be that they're unwilling to sell the license, They may
Yeah,
just
I'm sure. The amount of paperwork and
Mhm.
licensing, and then test markets and everything like that. There's got to be so much to it.
So, what is the number one factor that determines whether you do or don't buy a figure? Like be the price or the pose.
Yeah, I would say, price is definitely one of the things. I mean, this market, the figure market, has been so kind of weird with this COVID
Mm-hmm.
thing. I think we've definitely seen, especially as soon as a figure goes into that reselling market, it's much more aggressive than what it used to be. So yeah, price, I probably consider that more now than I used to, especially now that
Mm-hmm.
I'm on my own and I have a house to pay for, and that's I'm
Yeah.
not just a free kid anymore working, living at my parents. So I definitely have to consider that. Pose, I color is a big thing with me too. I hate matte finishes on figures, especially with their clothing.
Mm-hmm.
That's prevented me from ordering a lot of native figures in the past, because that's just a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like more of a shine with a lot of figures. Like the Nagatoro figure. I love that anime. It's very cute. It's lighthearted. It's funny. It's right up my alley. That's a perfect AP
Mm-hmm.
anime. That figure is absolutely I mean, it's ugly. It is
It
so
is.
freaking ugly
Mm-hmm.
because everything's wrong with it. The color, the pose, it doesn't even look out here. And, I always say it looks like a McDonald's Happy Meal toy. That's what you would expect quality wise. So, if it just looks bad, I'm not going to force myself to get a character, even though I like them so much, or it's an
Mm-hmm.
anime I really enjoy. Um, it's just not going to happen. Yeah, going back to price, like St. Louis is, if I had to pick an Azure Lane, which I'm not a huge Azure guy, but if I had to pick an Azure character that I really like, she would be it. I still haven't gotten her figure because it was over $300 for a 1/7, I think, scale.
That's
In my mind, I'm
crazy.
not going to pay that, and now I'm stuck at 600 bucks. Whoever knows how much it is. So,
Mm-hmm.
am I ever going to get that figure? Maybe, but it's going to be a while now. So it really depends. There's a few factors, but price and just how it looks. It's got to look
Mm-hmm.
good for me to spend. You know, but what used to be $100 now is $200 on a figure.
The more time that has went by for me collecting, the more I just become numb to the price. You know, I'll look at the price
Yeah.
and it'll be like $270 for a 1/7. I'll be like,
Yeah.
okay, and I pay it
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's how it is. You just get so used to seeing that price that, especially when I was working in retailing, and back then, I think the minimum wage was like $8 when I first started. I mean, you're spending $200 on a figure. That is hours and hours of work. And
hmm
as people get into this hobby, I want to remind them that it's you need to think about that as well before you just go, okay, it's $200. That's a lot of money. I can live on $200 pretty long time, like food wise at least. That's not going to get you much in a rent or something like that. But
hmm
um, so it's good, I think, to kind of step back and not force yourself to get that Miku or get that whoever because just because you like them.
hmm Well, transitioning from that, do you have any figures that you regret buying?
Oh, I get that. Yeah, that's a tough question. Um,
hmm
that I get asked a few times, and really, no, I've been pretty lucky there to where even some of the first figures I ever bought, I still really enjoy. It was always one of my few rules when it comes to figure collecting is I try most of the time to see the anime before I get the character if I can. There's a lot of OGs
hmm
out there, but um, I think it's definitely kind of saved me a little bit. But not really. I mean, sure, there's a few prize figures that didn't look as good as I thought. $20, that's not a huge deal.
hmm
But when I think of some of my higher end scales, even some of my really high end scales, I don't really have many regrets. When I first
hmm
spent $200 on my Konosuba bunnies, I was like, man, I like that anime, but it's definitely not my favorite. Now they're 4, 500, $600 a piece. So I'm like, you know what? Okay, that works for me. That
Yeah.
that kind of worked in my favor. So, even just looking at it as an investment, but there really isn't any figures that I've ever raged at. Why did I buy this and anything like that? And I've even as I've done figure reviews, more of those on my channel. I don't want people to think that I'm trying to sugarcoat every figure. I want to pick out things I didn't like about it, but I've been so lucky so far. There really hasn't been any huge
hmm
design flaws or anything like that. So yeah, I other than a few prize figures, that's about all I can think of.
I feel like that too when I'm reviewing a figure. Is I'm just sitting
Yeah,
there, raving and like bragging every
yeah,
sentence. It's like, oh, this is so good. This is so good. But
yep,
I don't buy figures that I don't like or that I think
yeah,
I won't like.
exactly. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think it's pretty hard in figure collecting to really regret buying a figure unless you really, really hate it. Because
yep,
more times than not, you can sell the figure for what you paid for it or
yep.
make a profit
Mhm.
most of the time. So,
Yeah, yeah, and you're gonna have that connection to the character as well. So, let's say I get a Miku and her face is a little bit not as aggressive, or hair doesn't look quite right. I'm still gonna probably be happy with it to a degree just because it's a Miku figure at the end
mhm,
of the day. So, um, yeah, it's pretty rare that I hear from people who are like, "Man, I hated this figure." And that's why I've never done that video. A lot of people ask for that video, and
mhm.
I don't have anything really to to show them for figures that I hate.
Yeah, for me, I'd have to pull at straws to even
Yeah.
say anything negative about any of my figures, really.
Yeah. Most of the time, the comments in my videos will point out more negatives or, there's a spot in her hair or something like that that I just missed. I didn't see it because I'm experiencing that for the first, probably like you, I'm experiencing for the first time as well. It's not like I've
hmm
looked at this figure for a week and then said, okay, I'm going to make a video on it. This is my first time opening it as well.
So, figure collecting has sometimes been deemed as like a young person's hobby.
Hmm.
Typically, it's something that people do like in their late teens and like their early 20s and
Yeah.
eventually grow out of it.
Mhm.
Do you believe that there is an appropriate time to start or finish and collecting? And do you think that you will ever give up the hobby yourself?
Oh man, I can't really speak to the future. I mean, I've definitely thought about that before, but it's not. I almost feel like it's just not worth worrying about. I think we get it in general. I don't want to be like philosophical here or anything, but I think in general, a lot of people try to think, oh, what's going to the future, what's going to happen in the future? Am I still going to like this or whichever? And it's like, yeah, who cares? You'll know soon enough. The
Hmm.
future will be there. Um, so I don't know. It's the demographic for anime is always changing. So this is becoming so much more mainstream. It's crazy, even in my lifetime, how much it's changed. But I've been collecting for I don't know 7 8 years, at least for figures.
Hmm.
And it's still refreshing. There's really for me, I don't really see any end in sight. For somebody to get into it. I mean, obviously, I want them to be old enough to where they could think it's an okay
Yeah.
decision, and I never want somebody to be financially stressed because of it, because they are just pieces of plastic. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, it's not worth it. Um, but yeah, as long as you're the right age and old enough to buy the figures, then yeah, go for it. Start with the price figure. See how you like it. I mean, when I bought my first $20 Miku price figure, it blew my mind. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So it
Hmm.
start small and go from there. See if you like it or not.
So since you made your channel, you have inspired many other people in the anime figure community to do the same, to make their own channels, including
Yeah.
me. Are there any content creators that you watch and inspire or motivate you as well?
Uh, yeah. I mean, especially as we went back to even before I started my channel and I was thinking about it, it was kind of a thought in the back of my head. Uh, I was huge on YouTube, just watching. I didn't really like watching TV. I don't get channels or streaming service other than anime.
Hmm.
Even back then. So I just watched YouTube all day long. So yeah, I mean, there's fishing channels that Fisherman's Life is one that I watch like crazy. A lot of the Guggen Squad guys, even though they're a little bit um, uh, bros, they're still entertaining to watch, and all those professional bass channels I like to check in on every once in a while. And then cold ones for podcasts. Their editing style is
Hmm.
insane. Just uh, amazing. It blows my mind how much work they put into those, and really entertaining, really good characters, really good chemistry back and forth. H3H3, especially back in the day, that was an amazing thing. That really just to see him sit at a desk in the middle of nowhere when he was still in Israel, I think is where he used to live. I don't know that area very well, but and just to be filmed and be so funny and natural, and that
Hmm.
was a big inspiration. And iDubbbz and Filthy Frank and all of those kind of what I would call OGs. Those were huge inspirations of just them doing what they wanted to do. But iDubbbz is probably, if I had to pick one, and you'll probably see that once I say that, a lot of people will be like, okay, I can kind of see that even in some of your videos.
Uh-huh.
Was huge. I mean, he is probably one of the main inspirations, at least for me personally, and his style and just how natural he is. And um, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not as aggressive as he is, just because I can't quite bring myself to that level. Um, but still is a huge influence for me.
I've got a couple of little goofy things
Okay,
before we wrap up.
alrighty,
So, anyone who's a fan or of you and who tunes into your streams a lot knows that
yep,
you like pickles.
yeah. Well, that's been kind of more recent discovery, but I
Hmm.
do. Yes, I do like. I'm not a huge dessert guy. I'm more of kind
Hmm.
of like a savory, I guess you would say. So yeah,
So
that's one of the reasons.
I've got a pickle this or that kind of thing.
Okay, okay.
So, do you like pickles on the sandwich or do you like them on the side?
Typically on the side, especially if they're going to be like a spear or a whole or
Mm.
even a half. That's on the side. That's why I usually save it till end. Now I'm thinking about it. It's like I'm actually holding a sandwich. Yeah, I usually save it towards the end. That cleanses my palate, I guess. I don't know.
So, do you like spears or do you like whole better?
Whole, yeah, yeah. I always like whole. It's just it's hard to find them half the time. Yeah, that's one of my not earliest, but early childhood memories was my mom buying those individually wrapped pickles at
Hmm.
the store, and they're pretty disgusting, really, when you think about it. But they've been in those bags for so long, they're soft and it's so strong. But
Mm-hmm.
I love them so much, and that's probably where it came from. But yeah, yeah, always whole.
There used to be
That's all I got.
those individual, like the really fat ones, they're all
They're
soft and
huge. Yeah.
weird. There was those were everywhere, like at our football games and back in high school,
Okay.
they would
Yeah.
sell them, and people would eat like half of them and just throw it on the ground. So it's just like a pickle wasteland.
Massacre.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can guarantee you those things have been in the bag for like 10 years or something because they were just they were so gross, but still delicious. I still like them.
So the most important question, which I hope you say the right answer. Do you eat dill or do you eat sweet pickles?
I'm dill. I grew up with sweet pickles, and
Good.
they're okay on certain things, but one of my one of the things my family always used to make was tuna with sweet
Hmm.
pickles in it,
We
and
have that a lot.
I could probably get sick just thinking about it. Just the smell of it. Just oh my gosh. So I think that's kind of where that connotation of like that negative connection came
Hmm.
from. But they're okay on a on a certain sandwich. But dill for me is the way to
Sweet
go.
just doesn't mix for me. Like, I don't think
It's
of
weird.
sweet when I think of a pickle. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't want that.
It is kind of weird. But I guarantee you, if I went to my parents' house right now, they'd have 4 or 5 jars in their
Yeah.
pantry. That's their jam. So.
All right. So now I'm gonna name a few characters. I want you to
Okay.
say the first few things that come to mind when you hear them.
Okay.
The first
All
one,
right.
first one is Vanilla from Nekopara.
Yeah, yeah. I think she's kind of like a kudere. I think that's the right term for her. She's not a tsundere, but she's not the rest of
Mm-hmm.
them. I don't know all of them, but uh, there's always a specific pose where she's in her like in a it's like a China dress
Mm-hmm.
or maybe even a yukata. I can't say it, yukata or whatever how you pronounce it. A picture of her I always really like, so immediately my mind always goes to that. Yeah, her eyes, cute white hair. It's always been kind of
Mm-hmm.
a what I like. But yeah, super cute. Just
What
can't go wrong
about
with her.
what about Kana from Dragon Maid?
Oh yeah, a lot of the same things. I immediately go to the scene of her in the rain because that's kind of one of the scenes that made me I really like her. Yeah, cute. Those chubby cheeks.
Mm-hmm.
Her backpack, having her classic red backpack. Yeah, just a really good character. It's very rare that I can't pick my favorite character in an anime, and Dragon Maid is one of them because all the characters in my mind
Mm-hmm.
are so amazing.
They are. Next is Shimakaze.
Oh, okay, yeah, now we're getting a little spicier, I would say. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Shimakaze. I have some artwork that typically I in my old apartment I had over my wall here, so kind of immediately go to that, just kind of that back booty shot,
Mm-hmm.
going over the waves that she's known for. But yeah, yeah, I would say that it just immediately kind of goes to that just how perfect she is. She's perfect. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And finally, you probably already know the
I'm ready.
name,
Yeah.
Centauria.
Oh man, yeah, she's my classic. That shy face. She always kind of has that. She's always kind of shy, and a lot of people ask me like, why do you like her so much? And it's just because I like her personality, I like her design, I
Mm-hmm.
like her character, I like her voice. It's one of those rare characters where I don't have any complaints about her at all. She's just kind of
Mm-hmm.
perfect, at least design wise in my mind. So I think that's why she's my number one.
Mm-hmm. So that's all I really have, and I want to thank you again
Hey,
for
thank you,
coming
thank
out
you
to
for
the
having me.
channel,
Yeah,
and even more so, your channel inspired me to make my channel. Honestly, watching your videos kind of inspired me to even start collecting.
yeah,
Period. I
yeah.
had, I had a few Nendroids, and then I stumbled upon one of your videos. The first video I ever seen of yours was the bootleg Kana. I
Okay,
think
yeah,
I
it's a
think that was a
classic.
lot of people's first because that
It
video
was,
kind of
yeah,
blew up.
especially kind of in that time frame for sure. Yeah,
Mhm. And then I watched like all of your videos after that, and
yeah,
you just kind of showed, you talk about it a lot, that it's okay to like anime figures more or less,
yeah, yep.
and your videos like showed me that, and I said, well,
Hmm.
if he can do it, and
Anyone,
if he can get on YouTube and talk about these scandalous figures and all
yep,
this, then I can collect
anyone can do it.
Nendroids. And
Hey,
here
I
we are
came from a
today.
conservative. I'm mid-20s. I came from a conservative household, and it's not weird to me at all. It's completely natural. You know, it's
Mhm.
like I said before. Everyone has their thing. So, and I still go back and watch, you know, some of these smaller channels of people, you know, like yours, and get different ideas and
Mhm.
different shots and camera work, and so it's very mutual that way. It's I'm always learning new stuff from anyone.
Mhm. Well, I think I'm gonna end it there. Thank you for your time again,
Thank you, Leroy. I appreciate it.
and for all of you watching, I'll see you guys next time.